I think as youths, you have a misconception that you have to do everything that others are doing. That this is, you only live once and you need to tick some few boxes. You need to drink alcohol, you need to try smoke. If you are a virgin, you need to break it. I believe when you just start in campus, you believe like you need to start doing a few things. And I believe that is one of the few things that led to me drinking, smoking, and what have you. You would find somebody strange who does not do these things, especially in campus. If somebody tells you, and people usually ask you, why don't you drink? As if it's a wonder, it's a huge problem. I am Duncan Bett. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a bit in farming, a bit in drone work for agriculture and videography. I also do photography as well. Pretty much a person who is in the journey of constant improvement. So I'm here with Shared Moments with Justus to share a bit of my story of how I overcame or avoided addiction, also drug addiction. Yeah, so I'm here to share my story to see how it might assist one or two of you who is also at this point and needed to hear something that might assist you to take a positive direction in your life. Yeah, and enjoy the benefits of sober living. When you walk around Nairobi, you would see people who are suffering the effects of addiction. Either they are living on the street because of addiction, or they've lost their jobs. We hear of countless stories where drugs has actually messed their lives. So it is just a matter of saying, for my future, this path I'm going will not take me to where I would want my future self to be. I want to thank my parents, my dad and mom, because they stood with me. And they also noticed when my body was beginning to change. I was very malnourished. I would sleep the entire day. They would find sometimes a bit of drugs in the house. So yeah, I would say it is thanks to the direction of my parents that I actually avoided a lot of this addiction. You know, some people say they like to live in the countryside, others in the city, but I would say I like living in the countryside where I was raised in Kericho, where you just see green, you hear birds. It's very, very serene environment. Yeah, you play in the tea fields. Yeah, you go and walk around in the rivers. So I would say I had a very nice childhood growing up in the countryside. From my family background, I didn't have much of an influence in alcohol, but I would say my peers is where, you know, when you're young, you say peer pressure is not really, can't really influence you that much. But I can assure you that your peers actually do have a big influence in your life, and the people you surround yourself with. If you all say you're going out, sooner or later you'll find yourself drinking. Sooner or later you'll find yourself smoking. And if bad comes to worse, if you find yourself with people who snort, you might also find yourself snorting. And that is, so I would say from a family background, my parents do not drink. Maybe when I was young, but especially my dad, I believe when I was young, he might have drunk 1 or 2 beers, but I think he has been sober for more than 20 years. Yeah. So I believe that is a big influence to why I also managed to break out of addiction. It's because I can see from home that my dad is also a sober man. I think as youths, you have a misconception that you have to do everything that others are doing. That this is, you only live once and you need to tick some few boxes. You need to drink alcohol, you need to try smoke. If you are a virgin, you need to break it. I believe when you just start in campus, you believe like you need to start doing a few things. And I believe that is one of the few things that led to me drinking, smoking, and what have you. I believe it's a misconception or a belief that there are things you have to do. But you don't have to do these things. It's not a must. Yeah. You don't have to start drinking because you are now 18 and you can go to a teller and be given alcohol. Yeah, I believe it's the freedom and the ability that to do these things and thinking that you have to do these things is what led me to start drinking. Because you would find somebody strange who does not do these things, especially in campus. If somebody tells you, and people usually ask you, why don't you drink? As if it's a wonder, it's a huge problem. Yeah, so I think it's this expectation that leads people down this path. When you start doing things out of expectations, or it is natural, or it is the stage, it is as if it's a rite of passage, and then people now start overdoing things without the proper controls and knowing yourself properly. When I started drinking, I believe it was a misconception that I am at the stage where I have the freedom to drink. I don't have parents around, supervision. This is the time to experiment, see what this thing is all about, that this forbidden fruit of alcohol, what it's like. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I started drinking. You enjoy the freedom of being in university, around your peers, going for house parties, and also what you see on TV, be it music, be it other influences. And you're like, yeah, I'm curious. Let me see what it's all about. When in campus, you can't have a party without alcohol. You first can't have a party without girls and without alcohol. As men, you're either watching football together or you're organizing how women will come to your small bash. Yeah. And with that, alcohol has to be there. And that sets up, I believe that set up the culture of always having alcohol as a fun activity or something that you do when it relates to fun. I finished high school 2012. I didn't get the best of grades and I had to start with a diploma. So, yeah. And also coincidentally, is also when I started drinking while at my diploma stage. Yeah, so I would find myself going weeks without going to class. You start missing, and then you find yourself 2 weeks, you haven't seen your lecturers. The results come, you have a supplementary. I would say the first people to point out that I might be having a problem were my parents, especially my dad. Because there's a time I took a walk in the compound and went to the far corner, thinking that he's not aware of what I'm doing. And when I came back, he told me, you are smoking. So I think he called me out. It's like I was not too smart. Like he knew what I was doing. You know, I'm home for the semester. I'm home from the semester. I have gotten back home. So it's like I used to smoke in campus. I can still smoke at home and hide at the compound, at the corner of the compound, the trees and everything, not knowing that my dad was watching me from a distance. And then he called me out. I said, you are smoking. And indeed, I was smoking. Even after being caught, a funny thing is, there's a time my mom, I was chewing a Mira cat. I was drinking, I was smoking, and also chewing cat. So there's a time I chewed, and then that time we still have paper bags, the polythene ones. So I had placed the remains in the polythene bag just beside my pillow. And then I went about my shugulis, not knowing my mom came looking around. Only for me to be called later for a family meeting, and they had placed that paper polythene, that polythene bag that had my mirror inside, aside, and told me, what are these things? Umekuwa mbuzi, what are you? You're chewing leaves. Not knowing that this is, yeah. So I think they started noticing from my dad catching me smoking, and then they finding Mira again in the house. Yeah, but I didn't stop at that stage still. I thought I was the wiser, that I can manage these things, that it's just a matter of thinking that you're the wiser of, you know what you're doing. The overestimation of, you know what you're doing, yeah. And also, they sent me to a counselor to talk to me about drugs, and but I still did not listen. Yeah, yeah. I still went back to school. You're saying, I can manage myself. I know these things. Go back to drinking, and then you eventually yourself you start seeing the effects. You fail school. You miss graduations because you have missing supplementaries to do. So your classmates graduate. You have to now go run around and do supplementaries for you to graduate in the next semester. Your health is deteriorating. You look malnourished. My trousers were no longer fitting because the boy was not eating. He was spending all his money in enjoyment. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. I graduated, but with low marks. Yeah. I graduated with a pass because I had too many supplementaries. I was basically just doing the supplementaries to graduate. Yeah. Yeah. And then I managed now to do my undergrad, which it is during my undergrad period that I now started making positive changes. Yeah. Because I believe my body had had enough. All these drugs started affecting my health. You up from looking malnourished to what would I say is it begins to even affect your sexual health at some point. Yeah. And then you also start feeling depressed, you oversleep or you don't sleep. So you feel like it's now bordering to affecting your mental health is when you're like, I need to stop this thing before it goes too far. Okay, so my first attempt, I quit smoking 2015, but I continued drinking. I continued drinking towards 2016. And this time I'm still experiencing the difficulties in my body. I'm malnourished. Actually, I stopped chewing cat or miraa, the first one, and then I continued with smoking and drinking. And then later I said, let me stop smoking. I continued with drinking. So it's like, and then you fail in between, and then is when you build a streak long enough. You go 10 days, 20 days, 1 month, you break it, and then you go 3 months, and then breaking it becomes painful. It's like I went 3 months without drinking, and then I broke it. Yeah, it's a matter of getting more days that it's painful to break that streak. Yeah, because now I've been sober since 2016, 31st. I crossed the year having made the decision that the way people say I'm going to the gym January. I said I'm not drinking from this 31st when I was crossing the year in a club. I was saying this is the last time. Smoking has a deteriorating effect. More so, the highs are high when you start, and then it becomes lower as you continue. So you have to smoke more because it's like this thing that was supposed to make me feel good is now becoming a depressant. You're becoming slow. You actually realize your conversations, you're no longer fluent, a bit paranoid sometimes because of how it is. That's how I managed to quit smoking. I would say a change of environment is very important. Yeah. Don't insist in staying in Nairobi when you don't have to be in Nairobi. Go home if you live outside Nairobi. Like for me, I told you I stay in Kericho. So when I'm at home and I know my parents expect this of me, I'm in that environment where it is serene, it is peaceful, and I know I come from a family that is advocates for sober living. You know, when you insist in staying in Nairobi, where you're with your friends all the time, and that's what they do, and maybe you are at different levels. Maybe they don't have an addictive personality like you. It becomes a challenge for somebody to stop. Yeah, because some people have addictive personalities. You know, Mimi, a big part of what influences me is seeing negative results from other people. Yeah. When you see people living in the streets who it can happen to you, people who came from even more comfortable lifestyles ending up in the streets because of this, thinking that it cannot happen to you, because it can happen to you. So I would say what has led me to be sober for the time that I've been is first acknowledging that my health was starting to fail. I was becoming malnourished. The drugs were no longer enjoying. They were becoming more of a depressant than something that relaxes you. You end up not sleeping or sleeping too much. Also, I believe from memory, I believe when I was young, I saw my dad drinking one or two things. But he ever since I think I was in nursery, introductory, around there, and I've never seen him touch a drink ever since. And that must be around 27 plus years or 28 plus years. So I believe me admiring my father and wanting to be like him in the future is one of the few things that has played a part in me continuing with the streak of going a day more without drinking, a week more, a year more, just following in his footsteps and wanting to be like him and probably accomplish what he has accomplished. So another thing that you get to experience when you're sober is you start finding you have surplus of money. The few 1,000 or 2,000 that you spend at the club, you can now buy yourself one or few things. You can engage in hobbies. You can even start seeing your grades improve, pole pole, and that keeps a positive momentum going in your life. Relationships, you do well with relationships. Yeah, you're no longer malnourished. You look better, you dress better, you save money, you go to trips. Like for me, one of my hobbies is hiking. I hike mountains. I've hiked Longonot, Satima, Mount Kenya, and even Mount Kilimanjaro. Just because this is like a replacement. This is like a replacement of the bad habits. So now I start doing things that I enjoy. Yeah, maybe I used to engage in, my money used to go to these things. Now it is going towards hobbies that I enjoy. I enjoy camping, being up in the mountains. And I would also like to say is, I hope you get the courage to not fit in. You're not there to please anybody. You're just there you don't need to have a beer just because the table has beers. You can have your soda there and have the courage that if these are your friends, they should support you with your soda while they're drinking their beers. Yeah. And you shouldn't care whether they think that is weak. A man does not drink soda in a club. Or if they find it strange, really find it strange, but it's what you want. Yeah. And that is one of the few things that keeps me going. Although I do avoid those spaces, avoiding is a key. If you are struggling with addiction, of course, being in that environment for too long, you might find yourself backsliding. But if you feel like you're in an environment that supports excessive drinking, if you are fortunate to live outside of, if you have another place you can go to your grandfather, to your parents' house that is outside of any city or the city you're in, just go there for a weekend, go relax and get the positive teachings that they teach, go eat well at home, and slowly you will feel those short breaks from your norm, if you're used to going out every week, just change one weekend, go home, relax. If you're in school, don't insist in staying in Nairobi. During the semester break, go home. I would say change your environment is, especially since my parents support and advocate for sober living. When I change my environment to go home to them, it gives me strength to continue because they understand, and it is what they want, and I know they are right. I have seen the positive changes of leading a sober life. So when I'm with them, I engage. I stay at home. I enjoy their company. We engage. We talk. Be it about relationships, be it about money, be it about work, and you slowly see your life improving. Yeah. So I would also add that none of us is special. Whatever happens to somebody else can happen to you. When you see people in the street who are living in the streets because of addiction causes, when you see people suffering from whatever it may be, when you see somebody who has gotten into an accident because of drinking, it can also happen to you. So I believe it is recognizing that whatever happens to somebody can happen to yourself, and also learning from your negative experiences. When you see people dying in the street, when you see people suffering in the streets because of addiction, I believe in recognizing that is when it gives me more strength to continue with my sober journey, that it can be you, it can be me. When I was in my undergrad, this is when I had started making small positive changes. I was like a year in sober. I was just keeping going, or maybe a few months sober or something like that. I came across a video from this channel about Solomon Kilanga, a guy who also came from a comfortable background, but because of addiction, he actually was living in the streets. And that actually gave me a pointer that if I'm not careful, it is only by God's grace that I caught myself, because that could have been me. I continued watching Solomon's story with his projects with the GLC center that he is running, which is like a facility that he does to cater with people struggling with addiction. So when I watch his stories, that continues giving me like carries me forward in a positive direction. It gives me the motivation to continue living sober and seeing the benefits that accrue from it here. I've been watching Solomon's story because I believe he also played a part, because he was a warning sign that I could end up where he was. So recently I decided to donate my services and some clothes to also ensure that he continues doing some good work. I had a lot of clothes in the house. I told my siblings to give me clothes they are not wearing. I took a lot of the clothes that are not wearing or were not fitting, because he takes people from the streets, he cleans them, he counsels them, and walks them into a journey of living a sober life. So I thought, let me assist him in his work of clothing, and also shooting some footage for him. I also do drone work. So I decided to, and also videography. So I decided to do some videos for his place that he can spread the gospel to reach more people who are struggling with addiction. Yeah. Because I also want more people to benefit from sober living. Yeah. If you're a young man, living sober will change your life. Yeah. It is the simplest and the first move. Don't look for more jobs, more money. It won't. As the first step that will change your life is leading a sober life. Yeah. A few benefits that I have and continue to enjoy for being sober. First, let me start with school. I failed my undergrad, but after leading a sober life, I managed to graduate with honors. I'm now pursuing my master's. Another thing is I was working in corporate for a bit, but now I'm an entrepreneur. I've learned a lot of life skills after I've learned drone work with, especially most with agriculture, the drone for agriculture, for videography, a bit of life skills, photography, videography. These are the skills I've added in from leading a sober life and not being distracted. I've done a lot of certifications online. I've engaged a lot of hobbies. I climb mountains, I camp, even managed to summit the highest mountain in Africa, which is Mount Kilimanjaro. And also, yeah, my pockets are okay, since my money is not going left, right, and center. I get some money to indulge in hobbies and camps, a few experiences here and there. And I'm also trusted by my parents. They trust me to, and I also hope to be, as the firstborn, I hope to be a good example to the others, because I wouldn't want my younger brothers to struggle with addiction. And this is something I can guide them out of. If they find themselves here, it is something I can work with them with and assist them should they end up here. Before I forget, this is all because of God's doing. He saved me from where I was going. And I would personally say this is something that I can advocate for sober living. So I would like to thank Shared Moments with Justus for this opportunity to share my story. Maybe this story, maybe you are like me, you relate to what I'm saying, or you're in the journey. I hope this story will assist you to go a few days sober, a few more weeks sober, a few years more sober. Yeah, just start a streak of sober days, and during that period you will see positive changes in your life. Yeah, it is being sober is life changing. If you'd like to find me or have a chat, I'm at bestduncan_ on Instagram. You can always hit me up. I can talk to you through your journey if you are at that point. I'm always willing to hear, because it's something I advocate for. And I love seeing people change their lives, because this has changed my life.